Religious conflicts. What do they make you think of? You probably thought about one of the many conflicts going on in the world, maybe regarding territory or beliefs. But what I want to talk about to you today is inner conflicts, those religious and spiritual conflicts that go on inside of us. Religion and spirituality can be a source of light, but also of darkness. Religious conflicts are ever present in the world we live in, both in the past and in current times. They're often the source of war and discrimination, but also internally, within the individual person, they can take place. Religion and spirituality can be a very valuable resource and lead to positive health outcomes and good well-being. But they can also cause severe emotional distress, also known as interreligious or spiritual struggles. These, however, are linked to poorer health outcomes and even to psychopathology. With religious conflicts shaping our world, its politics, borders, and people, at the University of Bern, an interdisciplinary group of over 40 people has gotten together to research this and many other dimensions of religious conflicts. Many different faculties are getting together here to understand better religious conflicts, their sources, and their coping strategies. And in the case of my team, are bridging together practical theology and clinical psychology. So what are these internal struggles that I'm talking about? What could these look like or feel like? They show up in many shapes or forms, maybe as doubts, questioning one's religion and one's beliefs, or the purpose of life. Is there one? Maybe they're moral struggles, struggling to follow moral principles or spiritual principles, or interpersonal with someone else, maybe a congregation member or clergy, or just someone else that you're having a disagreement about religion or spirituality about. They might be directly related to the divine. Are you angry at God? Or to the demonic? Maybe you believe that the devil or evil spirits have been involved in your life. But maybe also they could be related to Holy Scripture. Am I understanding what I'm reading correctly, and what does it all mean? Except for this last one, these have been studied, especially in the US, with the Religious and Spiritual Struggle Scale developed by Julie Exline and colleagues. But we think this struggle with Scripture is also very relevant and is something we want to include in our studies. So how do we cope with this type of struggle? And who especially is experiencing them? A way in which we are constantly trying to cope with our environment is by trying to maintain harmony, consistency between our needs, our motivational goals, and reality. The consistency theory by Klaus Grave states that consistency is actually the core principle of mental functioning. We all have basic needs such as attachment, a need for orientation and control, for self-enhancement, and to seek pleasure and to avoid pain. And our behavior is motivated to then protect or fulfill these basic psychological needs. When our needs are not met, however, we feel an inconsistency in our system, a mismatch between our needs and reality. And the mechanisms we use to avoid or correct this type of inconsistency are known as defense mechanisms, affect regulation, or coping strategies. So, as you can tell, inconsistency very much might be a source for inner conflict. For example, if God is benevolent, then why do bad things happen to good people? And how do we cope with this perception in a world that's ridden with conflict? While we all may experience these types of conflicts from time to time, especially those of us being faced with having to flee our countries and having to come into a new environment, we'll be faced with this challenge of inconsistency. As one is in a new culture, there are different religious practices and a different emphasis in society on these. And just as religious conflicts are a constant thread in the fabric of history, so is displacement. Worldwide, more than 65 million people are currently displaced. That's almost 1% of the global population. So in our research team, we asked ourselves, how is it for refugees here in Switzerland? What interreligious and spiritual struggles do they face? And how do they cope with them? Is religion more of a source of conflict or actually of strength and of hope? Which brings me back to coping. Coping is a cognitive and behavioral process that takes place in order to handle a stressful situation. And religious or spiritual coping then relies on religious or spiritual practices, belief systems, relationships, or experiences to make sense of and deal with our world. And this is where religion and spirituality can really play a very positive or negative role in your life and how you deal with it. As we can cope in negative or in positive ways. Negative coping has to do with an underlying tension or struggle, spiritual struggle, with the self, with others, or with the divine. Here one might be faced with questions or conflicts or doubts regarding God or faith. Some examples might be believing that one has been abandoned by God, or that one is being punished, or that the devil or evil spirits have been at play. However, in positive coping, there's an associated secure relationship with a transcendent force, a benevolent worldview, and a spiritual connectedness with others. During positive coping, one is very likely to interpret a traumatic situation in a positive way. Maybe you'll take a negative event and actually reinterpret it as a valuable lesson to be learned, or as an opportunity for growth. Some more examples of positive coping would be seeking a stronger connection to God, maybe asking God for forgiveness or for help in letting go of anger. And there's a reliance on religion and spirituality to lessen worries and let go of tensions. So as you see, there's a collaborative relationship going on here with oneself and something beyond you. So religion and spirituality can play a very positive role regarding your health and well-being. It can be a very valuable resource and have a positive impact on your health, or it can cause severe emotional distress. But these struggles can actually paradoxically enhance people's lives, as growth often occurs through suffering. So at the Interfaculty Research Corporation here in Bern, we're working together to better understand this and many other dimensions of religious conflicts better. And the reason why we want to do this is because we believe in a future where, with a better awareness and understanding of each other, of the past and present conflicts in the world, and how these have or have not been coped or dealt with effectively, we can contribute to a lessening of the divisions and suffering caused by religious conflict, both among people and within individuals, and to lead us to more effective coping strategies for a more peaceful coexistence. We believe that with the better understanding that our research will gain, we can promote better communication amongst each other and therefore better integration into society. We need to grasp not just how religion can be a source of conflict, but how it can actually be an instrument to help overcome it, and to gain a better understanding of what criteria make religiousness a tool for fostering peace within ourselves and within others. Because by fostering peace within ourselves and within others, we can then spread it beyond. A world I like to imagine, because anything is possible.